In the past, I've made a quest system, but now that we're doing a lot of stuff with state trees, I wanted to make a much more approachable state tree based quest system. So we have an actor here that will give me a quest. I have a quest menu, it's empty right now. If I overlap with this, I now have your first quest, circle and stand on the ramp. And as I do that, you can see that these things get marked off and new objectives become available. Stand on the blocks and jump off into this overlap trigger, which can trigger a reward or whatever you want, and in this case even gives me my new second quest, which is redo the first 2 steps. So we do that, and then we get another reward, and the quest list is empty now. This is all based on a state tree system, so we have our quest laid out in a state tree where we have a task managing the quest itself, and then every set of objectives is a state in and of itself. We have a bunch of tasks that make these individual objectives, and then we have a task that manages those objectives and checks, hey, are all of them done? And if so, we move on to the next one until the quest is finished. So that's the basic setup of how this is going to work. We're going to go through this one step at a time and make this from the ground up. So here an entirely empty project. If you want the finished project for the entire series, or maybe just any individual part of the series, there's links down below in the description for YouTube members and patrons to get those downloads under every one of these videos. First things first, let's go into the plugins and look for the state tree plugin. It's called Gameplay State Tree. You want to turn that on because we're going to be making use of gameplay state trees. So restart your engine and we can get started. So let's get started with making our first state tree. I'm just gonna look through here, state tree, and that will be a normal state tree component based one. And we'll call this something like quest 1. Now we're gonna set up a couple of objects here that we need to start working with to make this actually work. The first one is going to be a quest giver actor. You can technically put this on any other actor that you want, but that's going to have a handful of disadvantages down the line. So I like to just make a specific actor to hold the quest, and then any other actor can just reference this quest giver. So let's call this quest giver, and just to keep a good naming convention, BP, quest giver. That is going to have a state tree component. By default, it will start its logic automatically. We're going to turn that off, obviously, because we want to explicitly start this when we actually want to start it. For now, what we're going to do is I'm going to just add a box collision to it, just like I had in my preview at the start of the video. We're going to set hidden in-game view off so that we can easily find it, and then we just on overlap cast to third-person character as a quick and dirty way to check, hey, are we overlapping with the player character? If so, take our state tree and we start logic. Now, there's a lot more to do here later into the process, but for now, this will do. This will run the behavior tree when we overlap with it. Then next, we're going to make a new blueprint class again, but this time we're going to make a basic object. These tasks are going to be normal basic U objects that are just going to hold some very basic rudimentary information and maybe a little bit of code. The reason that we're doing this as objects is because it's easy to pass around references to objects and only have like one instance of it existing. So if we then added that from that reference and any other place, because it's an actual object and we're not passing around like copies of values or anything, everything else in our system will immediately be able to reflect that, which is nice. We'll make a object, call that quest task or something like that. And this is going to be, if you've never worked with basic U objects, a little tricky because it doesn't have things like a begin play. It doesn't have a built-in tick function. It really doesn't have anything that it comes with. It's very bare, but that's kind of the point. That means that it also doesn't have a lot of overhead. My other quest system is almost entirely based on working off of writing custom basic U objects, which does make things a lot more complicated. We're not going to lean on that as much in this version. So we're just going to add a handful of basic variables for this. The first one is going to be whether or not our task was finished, because that's mostly what we're going to query this for, whether or not our task is finished, and effectively deciding to do whatever based on that. We also want to give it a name to mostly display things, and that's going to be a text variable, not a name variable. Easy mistake to make. This one we're going to set instance editable, and then also coming over to the details panel, we're going to expose it on spawn so that we can set it immediately when we create this object. And then lastly, we're going to make a task ID. And this is mostly to identify. You could identify it by the name, but that is a string compare, which is relatively slow, and we're potentially going to be looping over quite a lot of these in some cases. So having something easier to identify them by is quite good. So we're going to identify them with a GUID, which will also set to instance editable and exposing on spawn. GUIDs are simply global unique identifier variables. So that's just a little bit of code, a couple of numbers that are very easy and cheap to compare and look at, that the engine can generate for you to make sure that there's no like doubles. That would be the other downside of if we're using a name to compare certain tasks to each other. If two tasks have the same name, that could result in some kind of conflict. With GUIDs, you don't end up with that issue. And lastly, we add an event dispatcher for the objective being finished. Maybe later down the line, toward the end of the series, we'll also add an objective updated, because I think we're going to want to have potential objectives that can be partially finished, like find 10 of this type of item. But for now, we're only going to worry about objectives that are either finished or unfinished. So with all that, we can make a function and call that something like finish objective or finish task or whatever you want to call it. I like calling these objectives because state trees have tasks, and I want to make like explicitly clear that these are two separate things. So as a matter of fact, let's call this quest objective as well for the class name, just so that it's entirely clear when I'm talking about an objective and when I'm talking about a state tree task. So when we finish the objective, for now, again, we're just going to set our task finished to being true. And then we call out our objective finished. But before we do that, we actually want to add a input to it. We're going to be adding an input of the type quest objective, because we want to send through a reference to itself, to whatever is listening out for finished objectives. We're going to have other things listening out for every objective. When they're finished, they're going to do something. And for that, they might need to know which objective just finished. So what we do is we add that as a input here. Call that something like just objective. And then when we call this out, we simply provide in a reference to self. And that's the entire setup for the quest objective object. And with that, we can now start going back into our quest tree itself. We're going to go up to making a new task, and for that we're going to make a STT for state tree task and create basic objective. Let's create that, and immediately I'm going to go into the class settings here, and we're going to go to advanced and set this to be an abstract class. That means that we can make other child classes off of this in the future, which we will do in a moment. But we can't actually use it in our state tree, because this isn't going to be exactly usable in any sense of the word. This is just going to be the basic setup of creating the objects we just set up, and then handling what that object is going to like be bound to, all that kind of stuff we'll do in other child classes of this, such as going to a location, finding a certain item, killing a certain enemy. Those are all going to be their own types of tasks. So we'll override enter state here, and what we're going to do there is we will construct a object from class, and we'll just make this a quest objective, which is going to ask us to put in a name and a task ID. So we're going to promote both of those to being variables, and we'll set both of those variables to be instance editable. Then the output of this is going to be promoted to a variable as well. We'll call this the quest objective. And for this one, we can set it to instance editable if we want to, but it's more important that we go into the category for it and mark it as being a output category. That way, other things in our state tree tasks can reference this object that we just created. And that's the basic setup for just the base creation of these objects. Now, if we go back into our state tree right here, and we just add in a quick like child state, that'll be like objectives 1. You will notice if I go into my tasks, I don't have the task I just created as an option. But if I go into new tasks, I can make a child class off of the STT create basic objective. That's what that abstract class tick box does. So let's make a chart of that again, and we'll create a location objective. Something quite simple. Here we will override the enter state, and you might need to right click this and add a call to the parent function, because that is going to run this. Otherwise it'll probably not run it. So you connect that up, and then we set up a variable here, and that will be our location trigger, and we'll make that of type trigger base, because every other like trigger actor that we can create in the engine is going to be inheriting of this, so we can make it a trigger box or any other type of trigger that the engine might have. The category for that is going to be input, because we want it to be exposed, and it also needs to be required to fill in, because if we make this objective without anything to trigger it, there's no use in that objective existing. So we want to force us as the user to input this. That's why we mark it as input. Let's pull that in. And then we will bind on overlap. So bind event to on actor begin overlap. And pulling off of this event, we can just make a custom event. It'll have the corresponding proper parameters to go with it. For now, we're just going to cast the other actor to a third person character, because again, that's just the easiest way to check that. You could technically use the is_a with a soft reference to the class. That is a new function in Unreal 5.5, I believe, that prevents it from actually like hard referencing and loading that class in. So that's probably a better practice to like get into. It doesn't really matter here because we're referencing the player character anyway, and you might want to check whether or not it is the character that actually has been given this quest as well. But it doesn't hurt to like get into the habit of doing this. So if the trigger that we're looking out for just got overlapped by a third person character, then we get our quest task, or quest objective rather, which is the one that we created in here, because remember, this is a child class of this one, so any variables that we make here, even though they're not visible through here, if you go into class defaults, you can see that they do exist still here, and you can just get them through normal like getting of variables like you would in any other blueprint as well. And we finish the corresponding objective here. So that's a setup for going to a certain location. Now, let's also print a string when that happens, just so that you can actually see something on screen happening, because we don't have anything else happening, obviously, at the moment. But I want to put this into the world and show you that stuff is actually happening. So when we do that, we go in here into tasks, and we can add a location objective now. So this needs in a trigger. We can give it a name and an ID. We'll ignore that for the time being. How do we provide in the trigger? Well, we do that through making a parameter for it. So we can rename this to location 1. And then we make it of type trigger base. And now, because this is a global parameter that is accessible by anything in the state tree, we can go into our trigger location, parameters, and we can reference that. So now, this objective is looking out for whatever we put into the parameter here. And we can fill that out on a per instance basis in the world. That way, you can technically use this same quest tree even with different location triggers on different actor quest givers in the world, if you really wanted to. So let's add a trigger box. So trigger capsule, trigger sphere, technically trigger volume as well, will all work. We're just going to go for a basic trigger box, and I'm going to replicate the thing that we did in the example, which is just going up to like this cylinder here. And then I'll pull in one of these quest giver blueprints that we made. And there we can go over into its state tree, set up the state tree to use quest 1, and you can see that it now makes available the parameters. So we can say, hey, parameter number 1 is going to be this trigger box, which means if we walk over here, nothing happens because we haven't gotten the quest yet. But if we activate the quest by overlapping with this thing and then overlap, you can see we print out hello, meaning that the quest was activated, started listening out for us to overlap with this, and when we did overlap with it, it prints out hello. Now, technically, it will print that out every single time we overlap with it, because it's still listening out for that. That's generally not really a problem because all that it's doing is just setting task finished, which was already set to true again. So that's setting up the basics of using tasks. Now you can just do this a bunch of times. So we can add in a second task immediately and then go in here. And when we finish this objective, we also finish the task. And when this is finished, we can add a transition to go from task 1 to the next state. And here we can then add in something else entirely. This is how you can set things up if you want to do things one step at a time. That's not quite how we're going to do things. We'll do that in the next video where we set up a task manager to manage any amount of tasks that we want at once on one state. So you can just do that with this one task at a time still. But that way you can also add 3, 4, 5, 6 tasks at the same time that you can complete in any order before moving on to the next set of tasks. Or again, objectives. I'm going to use those terms interchangeably a lot. Long story short, we can have a handful of these objectives that we created that all need to be finished before moving on to the next set. We'll do that next time. For now, we have our basic going to a location and something happens working. And a very big thank you to all my Patreons. You can see them on screen right now. If you want to help support the channel or get any of the project files in any of my tutorials, there's a link down below to the Patreon page to support me, or alternatively as a YouTube member. And of course, an extra massive thank you to my Cave Digger tier supporters, Sergey Thomas and Mauricio Farias. And my Cave Student tier supporters, Oiku and Earl Monsville Urno.